Yeah, right. Okay, I'd like to call to order the PCOE PUSD joint board meeting. Okay, today's a special board meeting, and let's start things off with the flag salute. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Fine, here, Edmund, here, Harrison, here, Ellen,
Here.
me, here.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a first and a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. This is approved. Any public input? There's no one here. And we'll move on to the PUSD comprehensive school safety plans.
All right, so we are looking for your approval this year and every year around this time, for safety plans. So for Greenville and Quincy Alder, there's a little bit of a, well, there's an update in staff. The plans were approved by their school site councils and looked over by me, and then they switched, so it shows the old names, but I'll email the principals to let them know to update that, but everything else remains the same.
Thanks.
I've got a question. So like I noticed, Frank Perry is on the Quincy High School one, but are there other?
He should not be on there.
Oh, so
is-
that's that
that's
was
an
from when
oversight,
he was a
yeah.
school
And
district
that's
employee.
why it's really good for you guys to look over him too, to catch our errors.
Okay,
'cause, yeah.
okay, yeah. I
Yeah,
just
thank
wasn't
you.
sure if that was like him coming in as a fire department chief to provide input.
We'll consult
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we need to do things with the fire department, but we did not replace the safety coordinator.
Okay.
So he shouldn't be on there. Thank
Okay.
you for catching that,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
We'll get these updated.
Yeah.
We did have a March 1st deadline that snuck up on us.
Well, then I'll move to approve with the changes that you described and the one that Leslie just brought up.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, there's a first and there's a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Facilities.
All right, we have one general fund contract, on there. We're trying to get the field at Greenville High School playable for softball. Partially, we had some safety concerns, so like that's why we did the backstop, things like that. But this change is, will make it easier to maintain. The infield and that is shot and it's just overgrown with weeds. It looks like we could harvest hay out there. And so what we're gonna do, Ed Hamrick's gonna come in, he's gonna take 3-4 inches off the top. He's gonna put a weed mat barrier down with the same thing we're gonna be doing at Chester when we finish theirs. And then we're gonna put in about 100 yards of DG on top and bring it back up to grade, but then the weeds won't be rooted down so deep, so anything that starts to come up in the spring, they can just nail drag and come out. And then we are getting the bid on the topsoil for Chester High School. That'll be on March 13th, or not topsoil, the infield mix for that. And I think we're gonna have the Chester High School softball field playable by the end of April, as long as they don't get 9
When the snow, the snow.
if they don't get 9 feet of snow, because we're gonna sod it. So it'll be instant grass and it'll just need a month of decent weather to thatch in, so it's not a safety concern with it slipping out. But that's what we have. We're gonna, in the next item, we're gonna talk more about kind of what our summer projects would be. The big stuff we're gonna do with the Measure B stuff. So asking for approval of this. This is the only contract we have on. This.
I move to approve.
Second.
There's a first and there's a second. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, carriers. And now Measure B, stuff.
Yeah, Measure B stuff. All right, so part of when you start to get to the end of the road with bond is stand up. Is that you over allocate for projects so you don't come in under. And so what we've done is we've figured out where we're at. And we have money. Some of it is unallocated for the bond itself. When you look at what's unspent on this sheet, the color-coded spreadsheet, did we upload it? They have this.
We have two.
We have two.
One with a red.
There are two different times.
They're this, I think they're pretty much the same though. What are the dates? We want bottom
22 or 26?
26. 26 is the one we're looking at, yeah. Okay. Okay, so you see we have $1.52 million in the bottom of column E that's unaccounted for. But when you look at approved project costs in that column over there, you can see there's or column C, the outstanding, you can see there's outstanding in different projects. So like Chester Elementary, you can see there's still like 700 and like 8,000 or 700,000 and change that hasn't been fulfilled of what we budgeted there, but they're in the middle of that roofing project. So it's actually all encumbered. And it's going to take every penny of that to finish that roof out at Chester Elementary. All right. There were approved projects that you guys had on the books from back when we started that Casey and I went through. There's almost $400,000. And that money is already set aside. So that's going to redo like the bathrooms at Greenville. There's still $90,000 for the front entryway up to Portola High School, but that's already been done. But it's that money's still there because they paid for it from another column. So we're gonna free that up, we're gonna move that. But there's a lot of little projects, a lot of bathroom renovation, because when you guys made this list, there was that TikTok trend of destroying every bathroom known to mankind. And so there's money in to improve a lot of things like that. So I've been working with Robin on that list to say, okay, let's start getting bids. It's, you know, replacing the flooring in the upstairs of the admin wing at Quincy High School. There's 8 classrooms up there that all have really old flooring. So I told them the money's there to do it. There's $78,000. So get a bid, see if we can get that done this summer. And so we can start closing out all these projects, and then whatever comes in under, that'll free up and go into that $1.5 million. Okay. The curveball, and I informed you of this, was $2.6 million coming in from the state. That check arrived today. So bottom line, we have about $4.1 million to spend. I've given you a list on the next steps for projects. There's way more than that, and we understand that. But if you look at that list, and that's the upload that's on there, like there's $825,000 at the top of that page. So I came up with these projects from being on campus. Okay, so
This one?
Yes, ma'am, that spreadsheet. So when I'm on campuses, I spend a lot of time talking to the people that are there. What do they want? What do they need? And so these are all over the place in terms of what they are, but they're also been determined to be fairly high visibility investments, which is what you need when you're closing out a bond. You know, things that really kids get to use, kids get to play on, things like that. A lot of these are numbers that Ray Bacher had given to me before he retired. So these are pretty much ballpark. So we'll have to get bids and kind of fit this in. But, you know, Quincy Junior Senior High. One of the things I hear a lot is I wish we had the locker rooms and the weight room like Portola High School does. Well, Portola High School, that was one part of the bond project. Okay, we've got some money left. So what can we invest into that? And that benefits both boys and girls, classroom space. You know, we've been on the campus. There's some landscaping that could be done from the construction projects that we had. You know, they running all those machines over, you know, probably past when they should when the rain started. And so, you know, the lawns need some help. You know, still some irrigation that needs to be fixed. We can put some money into Quincy High School. Portola High School, they've really been bugging me about, they want a new gym floor. Cause that's the same floor, same painting as it was when it was built back in '86 or something like that. Okay, and you can tell because that gym floor, when you watch the kids play on it, they slide all over the place. And so it probably needs to be taken down, and then evaluated and then, repainted and, brought up to speed. So high visibility, everyone gets to use it. That's a good idea.
Having played on it this year.
Yeah.
Found some soft spots myself.
Okay, there you go. So, we'll look at that. We've got to finish the giant grill in the room out at Chester Junior Senior. We've got to finish that softball field, probably another $100,000. By the time we get the infield mixed down, the sod, get everything else finished, but the fencing's all done, looks great. And, Chester Junior Senior, they didn't get as much money put in there, say, as Quincy did, but there's really a lot that got done out there. So the campus looks really good. But, we've got to finish that up. Chester L, from the construction project, when you drive by, once the snow's gone, you can see in the front yard, half of it's grass without irrigation, the other half is bare dirt because they peeled everything back. So we've already got a bit to put in the irrigation, bring the sod back, plant trees, put in irrigation under some of the sidewalks where it got missed, to the other sides, and to really finish Chester Elementary, as well as to put in sprinklers and actually automate sprinklers into the playfield and back, so that Scott doesn't have to pull a sprinkler around on a hose to keep it green.
And then there's not even enough pressure to even use the one sprinkler.
Exactly. So, looking at that, QAS Alder, this upper to lower slide has been on the radar. But
What does that mean?
so, there's a terrace.
Mhm.
There's a hill down to the lower playground. They want to slide to connect the two.
Ah.
Problem
okay.
is, that ridge is where the underground creek is. So we've had someone look at it, they don't think they can actually get it engineered and get it DSA'd over. So if not, we've got the garden that we're probably going to have to move. Jordan reached out to us, she would like to have their playground repaved. I don't know that it's in as bad a shape as the others, but we're looking at another fund, and we should hear back from the state within the week that we actually might have another source of money to tap into to pay for these paving, as well as for the bus lift that's on there.
Wow.
The bus lift is something that we can't keep kicking down the road, and here's why. We got a bid to replace that last year. And then we got a bid a month ago. The month ago bid was 208, last year was 180,000. It's just going up astronomically. And with us being always down a mechanic, this will make us more efficient in being able to service our buses, because this is for the big bus lift that we can take our biggest buses off the ground, do the maintenance on them, do the changes. We still go out for transmissions and engines and things like that, but should we need to do it in a pinch, this lift would allow us to do it. It's needed to be replaced for probably 5 years. And, for me, I want to make ours as efficient as possible. And if we wait anymore, it's going to be $300,000. So, but we think we can use that same pot of money for the paving as that. And then we found another source today, Mallory, just before, about an hour ago, that will be able to maybe take half of that bus lift there. So that will free up some more of this bond money that we can put to ultimately into roofs down the road. QS Ohio needs a lot of paving. CRC, the whole playground needs to be repaved. And when we did repairs on it at the beginning of this year, but the folks that did the repairs told us it's going to happen again, because the issue is under the blacktop. And the only way to fix it is to take it out, regrade it, recompact it, and then lay new blacktop down over it. And so that's what we want to work towards. So we're looking for a contribution from Measure B to do that. And then, but if we don't need to use Measure B, we won't. We'll try to use the other funds if we can, which are ELO funds, which we have a hard time spending because our summer programs are just not that big, not that robust, but the state gives us tons of money. So we're looking at, you know, we asked the state, will you approve the expenditure for these things where we have ELO programs? And, we feel favorable that we're gonna get a yes on that, but we won't commit to any of that upfront. And then GES, there's, you know, some requests, they want shade, but we want to do something different than the shade structure we did out at CRC. And then between the two elementary school wings, there was kind of the outdoor area. Well, what we're finding right now is they're having to snake the drain pipe for the bathrooms every week because they think those big bushes have infiltrated a broken drain pipe. And so, talking to Nikki, we were out there last week in the rain and looking at how flooded and saturated it was, that, you know, they think it's time to re-landscape that and get those great big bushes out of there because they're giant. And that's what they think is infiltrated the pipes. We got some landscaping there. She would love, and we experienced that at the one board meeting, a new sound system in the cafeteria for, you know, for functions and for, you know, the kids and things like that. So allocated some funds out there. We really put a ton of money into Greenville High School, and especially right before we opened up last year. So it is on the roof list down the road because we will be responsible to maintain that facility. But right now it's not in bad shape. So those are kind of some of the high interest projects. And then when you go to the bottom, we've got these roof projects. The roof at Pioneer is a metal roof. It's actually a residential grade roofing material and application. So the screws that hold the roofing panels down are popping out. It's starting to leak. So that is priority one. We need to do that this summer. And then the other project for this summer is at least the first $210,000 to do the admin wing of Quincy Junior Senior, because that is leaking into the building.
Didn't we do some roofing already at Quincy Junior Senior?
We did the whole roof, or the
entire
gym.
gym.
We did the gym,
Okay, but nothing else.
nothing else. And so there's still about $1.3 million outstanding to do all of Quincy Junior Senior High School. But we need to do $200,000 of that this summer. And I think that's probably going to, we might try to do the Chester L also, so we finish Chester L up. But we don't want to have too many roofing projects going at once because there's only a couple people that will come up here, trying to avoid construction zones during the start of school. I'd like the work to be done during the summer, and so kids can have a peaceful start. And then the rest of the roofing projects, we would have, we use Gartland, and they come out and they evaluate our roof. They're gonna come out and look at Chester Junior Senior, CRC, and Portola Junior Senior, and then they'll also tell us which roofs are in the worst shape. But they've told us these need to go right now. And so we would look to do some of the other roofing projects the following summer. And then, and by that time, the bond money will be exhausted, but hopefully the state will be in a better shape. And then we can come back in 2 years and be able to allocate from the general fund to be able to finish those roofing projects and get that done. We need to invest in securing our envelope because water is what destroys buildings. You know, secondary to say fire. It rots it from the inside out, and that's how we protect this to what they say is improve the envelope. So what we're looking at here with the remaining $4 million in change, we actually think once it's all said and done, we finished the accounting, we think we'll have about $4.4 million. We're taking a sensible approach to our infrastructure while also getting us a few high visibility projects. I'm looking after we have questions for board approval on this because like we have the quote for PIO and we need to turn that into a contract. It went out for bid. They did a roof walk on it. Gartland's going to handle it. But we need to get it under contract so they can get it on the books because as they've told us, their summer is starting to book up really quickly. And in the North State. And then we'll start getting bids. And if things are really out of whack compared to the prices that we have, I will come back to you as a board and say, hey, we anticipated this is what's going to be. Do you want us to proceed with this, or do we want to go and find a different project? Questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Hardship funding. When Measure B was passed,
Uh-huh.
when we told the voters of Plymouth County, is that we would only spend the money on certain things. Getting the hardship reimbursement, is there the same set of rules applied to the hardship money?
No, in talking with fiscal, the hardship money goes into Fund 30. It has to be invested into our structures, our infrastructure, but we do have discretion
Okay.
on what
So
we're
this
using that for.
kind of discretion we didn't have with Measure B.
Right.
Okay,
Right, so it goes into, it's our understanding that it is, it's at our discretion how we want to spend it, but it has to be spent on our buildings and its, renovation, things like that. And to clear up, so the $2.6 million check we got today is, that's hardship money for QES. And we were expecting another 1.6 or something in hardship funding from the Chester L project. But with as old as that school was, they cracked into it and they did not find one bit of mold, which is good for kids. And it's good that there was no water, but it's bad for hardship funding. So that was denied. So we will not be eligible for any more hardship funding at this point. So this will officially close out the bond once we get this done.
And you did say that Greenville L bathrooms were already,
There's $45,000 already earmarked. And Nikki's done a great job. They went in, they had some come in, paint them, put some really decorative stuff in, but the floors they are atrocious. And so what I've asked Robin to do is get a quote to come in and rip that flooring out and put new flooring down. We're done trying to coat it with an epoxy. What we'd be looking to do with those restroom floors is what we did at Chester Elementary for their flooring. It's all new system, seals up, 4 inches up, the coping seals it, easy to clean, easy to maintain, looks good. You can choose a color. So yeah, that's in there. And so there's a bunch of that money that's already set aside is for flooring. There's classrooms at Chester L, like I said, classrooms at Quincy, bathroom floors at Greenville L. I'll have Casey print the list out and forward it to you. And then I'll also make some notes on it so that you have an idea of what we have already completed. And so to show the money that we'll be able to free up.
and then my other question, I guess, is any thoughts about like a contingency pot? Because you and I know we've talked about, do we save something in case we get a Portola water leak or we get a whatever it might be unexpected?
Yeah.
Well,
But
the
those
hard
are-
part about that is we have to close this bond out.
Mhm.
We do have to close that out. So I'd have to look at that and see, if that's something we want to do, we have time, because we're not going to spend every penny of this in the next 6 months.
Right.
We're going to kind of develop a 2-year plan for projects. Again, try to lessen the impact on kids.
When you were already saying that there's a possibility that some of this paving would come out of a different fund, so that would
Yeah,
leave
Yep.
some there.
that would leave some there. I just need to check on the legality. It might be that we have to spend the original $50 million.
Mhm.
And then we can close that out, that plus the interest. And then some of this hardship money we've gotten back, maybe that could be set aside.
We have a facilities reserve already, right? I forget the
We
fund
do.
number, but
Not a lot, but it's able to handle it. And the other thing is, we do have a healthy reserve. That's our policy, to have 17%. And, like at Portola High School, we just had that boiler leak and that. you know, we had to basically pay for the repair. All the others covered through insurance.
Right.
And so that's, you know, we've got really good insurance. But there are things, I mean, your boiler breaks down, it's $250,000.
Yep.
I remember, so I do understand, and, you know, we've got some older boilers out in the west end of the county.
Just to confirm, each principal has signed off on this?
We've talked about it, you know, so the CRC, that's one that I inherited from Missy, and we need to do that because, you know, we had, through the cracks there last year, we had one broken leg.
And a broken staff member too.
And a broken staff member too.
Concussion, yeah.
You know, so the CRC one, that is, that's one that we need to do.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, if we can find the ELO fund, the ELOP funds that can pay for these, and it frees money up, then we'll go back out and talk to them. So, okay, what do you want to see? But we also, like at CRC, for instance, we do still have those two portables coming in, and, you know, the portables themselves are relatively cheap, but there's $450,000 worth of dirt work that has to be done to be ready for it. So, you know, anything we can use to offset. We have a list of projects. Believe me. But, you know, if we free some of this money up, we'll go back out. And, you know, like I said, at Alder, the only one that's kind of, you know, changing her tune a little bit is Jordan, and but she doesn't understand that they really have the smallest playground, and it's the easiest one to address.
Mhm.
And it's in pretty good shape. We could probably slurry seal that one for it, and it'd be good for 2 or 3 more years.
So we have a bond advisory
Mhm.
group that was set up. Does this need to
They were
come back to
invited
them
to
again?
come, and that's why John's here.
Okay,
He kind of leads it, and he and I talked a little bit last night at Rotary.
Yeah, first to David's point, I think that from day one, we expected that the state would come through with a bunch of money for us to augment the bond funds. And we had anticipated a lot more than they actually seemed to come through with. I mean, we were shooting to get $50 million from the state, and that was delirious at the time. But I think the committee's been meeting enough every quarter or so to, after the field tour we took of each of the sites, to feel really comfortable with how things are going and where the board is going. At the end of any kind of thing like this, big adventure with bond, with so many projects, there's bound to be a little chaos, and I don't think it's bad. It's your job to figure out your way through the chaos. But to get that money spent as quickly as possible, so it not being spent doesn't get you demerits on some other scheme that the state has that you could use. So I think you're on the right track. I think this approach of roofs uber alles is a good approach, because that didn't happen in the past. And that's the reason some of these difficulties exist, because nobody really said, well, we need a reserve fund to take care of this roof 30 years from now. And whatever you can save out of the additional money from the state, or whatever they let you save for a reserve, I think you'd be on a great track. Now, we'll meet again as a group at some point, issue a final report that the state will look at, and I'm sure suggest changes, but we'll meet the terms of the law. And the advisory committee is a new mandate, and I think we've met it pretty well, but the follow through to the end is doing the final audit on it, getting into the state, seeing what their comments are, and having the advisory committee take a look at that work before the final report goes in. But I think you're in great shape. Have at it.
thank you.
I think what our plan is on this is we're gonna spend to the 50 million. And that will get us to a point where we can write that final report and close this bond out. because the reimbursement from the state that's gonna go into Fund 30 is not, we don't need to account for that to the state. We need to account for that original bond plus the interest earned off it, so probably, somewhere around 51 million or $52 million, but that's, when we spend another 1.54 that's in that, the end of that column, we'll have met that requirement, is our understanding.
Right. The blessing of this is that the bond has enabled us to get new roofs on all these buildings. The downside of that is because we didn't replace roofs as we should have along the way, that they all will fail about the same rate again. And granted, all of us will probably be gone. I don't expect to be alive when these roofs fail again, but that's the bummer. And that's always the trick that, you hope that ones do every 5 years.
So I think that the way they do it, like on farmers home rental housing, which is the same basic thing. Build a building and I want it to last forever. If they set up a certain amount, as the reserve that you have to get to, and then you spend against it and set up a scheme to replenish it.
Right.
So I think by talking about this reserve issue, it's the way to go in the future and not roll over in your grave too much.
Yeah, no, I get it. And this is what I do for a living. So I manage communities and I let boards know that, you need to put away $10,000 a year so that 30 years from now, when this comes around again, your children aren't loaded with this burden. So, this is really in my wheelhouse, but it was a blessing that we got them all done and we all could kind of go, cause you're right. You protect your four walls, right? You gotta cover up everything that's important inside. But the bummer is by doing them all at once, they probably will all fail at the same time.
So, the metal roofs, 40-year roofs. The
Those will all
membrane
really be
roofs
dead
are
then.
projected to be 30.
Right.
So it actually will probably work out more that it's half, and then there'll be a decade to half. And the other thing with membrane roofs, they say 30, but they're gonna probably start failing somewhere 23, 24 years down the road. And so the membrane roofs will probably start earlier. And then, if we maintain the metal roofs, some of them could last longer than others, you're gonna have a little more wear and tear out in Chester than you are here.
Right.
And
It's the wind that's really hard on them.
It is, and so, I think when you're retired and watching, you'll see that they'll start probably replacing roofs again in about 20 years.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
So you'll be in your late 30s.
You'll take up golf because you don't have enough time for the rest of the trip. More questions? Thank you for that. Appreciate the input.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
So you have a recommendation?
I have a recommendation to approve this list, and as always, all contracts will come back to you for final approval, so we can compare, and we're gonna try to hold to these numbers. Any changes we'll bring back to you.
And I'll move to approve.
Second.
There's a first, there's a second, all of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Passes. Vision strategic goals.
Okay, so if you look at the attachment with this one, we talked last month about just a couple of changes, adding in education to the mission, and goal 1, to reach or exceed grade level proficiency in all subjects, not just core subjects. And we made those changes as recommended. The rest of it is the same. I'm recommending that we approve these to update the strategic plan. We can publish these, get them out on the school sites, and the same core direction is there. It's just, I think, like what we talked about in our meeting when we did this is if COVID had not happened, we were on the right path, but the changes we made, I think, are relevant to the post-COVID world.
I think having more input on this process than we had in the prior process is also important.
I appreciate that. It was good. It was healthy. I liked working with our administrators on it too. They had some buy-in, And they also know what that expectation is. And we made the revisions, we talked about it in ILT, everybody was in favor of what we did, and so, we're in a good spot with this. Need approval.
I'll move to approve.
Anybody have anything else to say?
Second.
They're all looking at me, and that big freaking cost, like,
First, was there a second?
Second.
thank you.
There's a first, there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Consent calendar, we have service contracts.
We have two on here, one is for our informed K-12, which is, we use in basically all of our departments now. Like I've said, is the efficiency of this saves us probably the work of a full-time employee every month. Because we don't, we want follow up on something, you open it up and you look, you see where it's bottlenecked, the whole thing, you send reminders. And it creates a really easy to find digital tracking system for all of our timesheets, our HR forms, our fiscal forms, everything. It's all in one spot. It's, well worth the $27,000 a year for 3 years. And then the income is Christie's done a great job in working with Plymouth County Behavioral Health and Missy. Yeah, these guys have really tag teamed behavioral health to get a contract to reimburse us for all the services that we provide to the youth in Plymouth County. And we actually billed back to Medi-Cal, and the money was going to behavioral health, and we were doing the work. And so this is going to bring some of that money, good portion of it back to us. And then I believe next year or the following year, we'll be able to bill Medi-Cal directly. And so 100% of what we bill will come back to us.
Nice.
With all these, a lot of these SCL services and counseling that we offer, we'll be able to be reimbursed for and help.
Who's gonna do all that Medi-Cal billing? That's not fun.
Missy can speak to that a little bit.
Go ahead.
So a CGM is a company that we use for special education, and so we will have to pay them for, I mean, it's like over a full-time job. But they'll reimburse us at a higher rate than the county will, and it's just like, that's their business, so it's very consistent.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm bringing in someone from the outside. There's experts.
it's a whole nother language.
Absolutely.
This county one that we've been working on for a year and a half. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that it's on there.
Wow.
Yeah, we started talking about this right when I started, and it was an ongoing conversation at that point. So, yeah,
You need approval on this?
yes, approval on the, because they're PUSD contract.
I'll move to approve.
I'll forget.
There's a first and there's a second. All of those in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Motion carries. And then this is the time and place for closed session.
Yep, so you two can go. Yeah, we'll just stay in here. Shut the meeting off. Thank you.
Yeah.
Same back.
Good night, thanks.
See you tomorrow.
Where's a good place to pick up dinner in Quincy to take home, Missy?
I don't know.
You don't grab dinner here?
No.
All
I
right,
like
Not safe,
Lucio's.
safe way.
all right,
I like Lucio's
yeah,
on the way out.
Okay.
They're really good and reasonable, and was it La Cabana? Gosh, when I drove out last night,
they were packed.
it was insane.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do there, but sometimes the crowds are crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so getting
It was-
takeout in the time to match
The
that.
only place
Okay.
that- that's the only place.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
Are we offline now?
No,
Okay.
it says why.
The food is all good in Quincy though.
Martha's is good. Here we go.